a lot of female judges are uncomfortable taking up the jobs just because there are no separate toilets for female judges.
There is a sense of mistrust. So why that trust is missing between the common man and the lawyers?
And you will try to fleece more money from me. And that is why you are taking this extra step. So the biggest problem that happens is to dilute, not to build trust, to dilute distrust.
इस distrust का क्या एक factor ये भी है that our judicial system takes a lot of time to deliver the final verdict?
There are a lot of cases which should not have even come to the court. Should have been done at the level of administration itself. The point that I was raising earlier, distrust. We have distrust at the level of the society.
That the person you're arresting understands, okay, in whatever way he wants to understand. So it must be conveyed very clearly in his lay language that these are the reasons for which you are being arrested.
1300 किलोमीटर की साइकिल यात्रा है जो ऑलमोस्ट 1.25 महीना चलेगी.
वेलकम एवरीवन टू माय शो करियर टॉक्स विद बरखा. आप सभी ने राजा विक्रमादित्य की कहानी तो सुनी ही होगी. उन्हें पूरे विश्व में न्याय करने के लिए सर्वश्रेष्ठ राजा माना जाता था और आज भी इसीलिए शायद सिंहासन बत्तीसी जैसी किताब हमारे भारत में बहुत प्रचलित है. आज लोकतंत्र में रहते हुए हम ये आशा करते हैं कि कानून और अदालत हमें न्याय दिलाएंगे, पर क्या न्याय मिलना इतना ही आसान है? आज कुछ ऐसे ही गंभीर प्रश्नों का आंसर करने के लिए हमारे साथ दो लोग जुड़े हैं. मिस्टर राजीव अग्रवाल जो कि एक एंटरप्रेन्योर, टेक्नोलॉजिस्ट, लिंग्विस्ट और लॉयर है, एंड मिस्टर सिद्धार्थ स्वरूप हु इज़ ऑल्सो अ प्रैक्टिसिंग लॉयर इन इंडिया. इन दोनों ने अपने 2 और साथियों के साथ मिलकर एक बहुत ही अनोखा इनिशिएटिव स्टार्ट करा है जिसका नाम है त्रिजस. आइए आज हम उनसे सुनते हैं उनकी कहानी, उनकी जर्नी, कैसे वो हमारे इंडियन जस्टिस सिस्टम में एक बदलाव लाना चाहते हैं. थैंक यू. हेलो सर, हेलो सिद्धार्थ, वेलकम टू माय शो करियर टॉक्स विद बरखा. कैसे हैं आज आप?
बढ़िया है. देखिए आपका कॉफ़ी पी रहे हैं तो अच्छी है.
All well, हम सब तैयारी में लगे हुए हैं एंड थैंक यू कि you are being a part of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So could you explain in brief what is Trijus? Trijus क्या है? कैसे आपको ये आइडिया आया कि हमें ये स्टार्ट करना है इनिशिएटिव?
So I would say first I think this is brainchild of I think you and Gaurav, right?
हाँ, तो एक गौरव भी है हमारे साथ जो अपने आप को गौरव साइकिल वाला बोलते हैं.
ओके.
क्योंकि उन्होंने ज़िंदगी में हर कोई अलग अलग चमक लेता है, तो उन्होंने चमक साइकिल चला के ली. तो जब वो पहले जर्नलिस्ट थे, पास आउट किया IMMC से 2011-12 में, तो ज़्यादा शौक होता है आइडियलिज्म का. उन्होंने लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंस लिखने की कोशिश की, तो 3 महीना रिक्शा वाला बन गए. तो 3 महीना रिक्शा चलाया उन्होंने DU में. उनका कहना है कि हम लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंस लिख रहे थे, हमारा कहना था ब्लॉग हिट हो गया, पीछे ढूंढ के लड़कियां पीछे बैठती इसलिए 3 महीने चला. ठीक है, तो वहाँ से वो गौरव साइकिल वाला बन गए. तो उससे ज़्यादा पोल नहीं खोलेंगे. तो गौरव का बेसिकली आइडिया था that we should do something in this space because Gaurav had an interesting journey from being a journalist to a lawyer, and he covered 2014 election on a cycle. He was given a beat by Mint to do that. क्योंकि एक साइकिल का भी एक अलग कहानी होता है because it's a slow journey, right? So one sees something different when somebody moves slowly, right? So that is where it came from, and then we were looking at the landscape आज जो एग्जिस्ट करता है एक क्रिमिनल जस्टिस स्पेस पे, तो उस पर कुछ इंटरवीन करने के लिए उसको भी थोड़ा स्लो पेस पे कुछ करने का ज़रूरत था. एंड फ्रॉम देयर इट केम.
So Gaurav is also a lawyer. And तो इसमें अभी 4 लोग एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व हैं, which is राजीव जी, कमलेश मिश्रा जी, कमलेश कुमार मिश्रा, गौरव साइकिल वाला एंड मी. तो राजीव जी, कमलेश जी और गौरव जी, so these people are much senior to me and I'm very grateful to them कि इन्होंने मुझे इस मुहिम में साथ में रखा है. So first, I would want to express that to all 3 of them. And so Gaurav and Rajiv ji, like he said, they came up with this idea. We also have a group called Tajurba or Guftagoo. और वो एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है IAC करके, इंडिया अकाउंटेबिलिटी कलेक्टिव। उसके अंडर वो सो इट्स बेसिकली अ कलेक्टिव ऑफ public spirited lawyers who meet once every month, and we discuss amongst ourselves as to what are the challenges we face while doing a work for betterment of the masses, right? So why I'm telling you this is because yes, हम इस पे काम करते रहते हैं. We keep thinking about what we can do in this direction. And as a result, I'm sure Rajiv and Gaurav thought of this project.
सिद्धार्थ जो बेसिकली बात कर रहे हैं, देखिए जो टैग करके ग्रुप है हमारा, तो हम वंस इन अ मंथ मिलते हैं. हमारा कहानी होता है फिजिकल मिलेंगे, तो 3-4 घंटे मिलते हैं. उसमें भी हमारा सीन ये होता है कि हर कोई अपना अपना खाना लेके आएगा, पॉटलक टाइप गेम होगा. बट बात ये होगी, मुश्किल बातें करेंगे कि अगर आपने कुछ किया तो नहीं चला तो क्यों नहीं चला आपके हिसाब से, और चला तो क्यों चला. तो कोर्ट के अंदर आपने कुछ किया तो उस पर बात कर पाए हम, तो जिससे हर कोई कुछ कुछ तो सीख के समझ के, चाहे वो व्यक्ति बताने वाला भी जाए, तो वो भी एक पार्ट रहा है इस पूरी जर्नी का, जो सिद्धार्थ बात करने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि ये एक जगह से कहीं से नहीं आती. गौरव का कुछ जर्नी था, फिर हम लोगों ने साथ में कुछ चालू किया, उसमें से कुछ निकला, एंड देन वी वर फाइंडिंग देयर इज अ गैप बिटवीन व्हाट्स हैपनिंग. जो यंग लॉयर्स आ रहे हैं प्रैक्टिस में, वो लिटिगेशन प्रैक्टिस बिल्ड नहीं हो पाता उनका ठीक तरीके से. इट बिकम्स वेरी हार्ड, राइट. एंड सेम वे जो हमारे यहाँ लिटिगेंट्स हैं, उनको जो एक एफिकेसी और एफिशिएंसी और तरीके का मिल पाना चाहिए लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेशन, वो मिल नहीं पाता है. तो और ये गैप को कैसे इंटरवीन किया जाए, बहुत सारे तरीके होते हैं, उसमें से ये कुछ एक करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. और जहाँ तक इनका कहानी है साथ में ले लिया, ये देखिए देखने में अच्छे लगते हैं ज़्यादा, तो एक शो स्टॉपर चाहिए होता है, इसलिए लिया गया.
तो सिद्धार्थ, आप ये बताएंगे कि ये त्रिजस नाम क्यों रखा गया है, इसके पीछे क्या रीज़न है?
सो त्रिजस 2 शब्दों से बन रहा है, राइट. 3 और ट्राई, राइट, which is 3, and just for justice. Okay. So why 3 and justice is that we are trying to make an impact in the criminal justice system of India, right? And how we're trying to do that is by building a community of lawyers, okay, at 3 different levels, or we can say that of lawyers who are at 3 different stages in their profession or in their career trajectory, right? So the first stage is people who are starting out and who are passionate about doing this work, but they probably lack mentorship, and because they're starting out, they also do not have a clientele built, right? That's one. The second level is mentors, as we call them, and these are people who have some significant experience of about 15-20 years, and who would also definitely, I mean, one common thing in all the 3 layers is that they have to be interested, and they have to be motivated to make this change, right? That's one common quality we look for.
So I'll add to this a little more. Is 3 layers. Is the first layer is the set of people who have really achieved something in their life, right? So there would be people maybe 35-40 years of experience, right? They are more like to hold the whole thing accountable. That is what it is like.
That's the third layer that I was going to tell you about.
It is like people who have already achieved something in their life. So there is people like Aditya Sondi and those kind of people are there, and our ask with them is just to hold the system accountable, that are we doing it correctly. That's more or less like it, and help us basically choose the layer which Siddharth was talking about, the mentor layer, because they are the fulcrum, like in an arch, they are like the keystone on which the arch stands, right? So these are the set of people who have already done something in their practice, right? They have really built, and they know how the system works, right? So who would really like to mentor? They're not, because they have their enough financial incomes that they make, right? They're looking at doing something larger in their life, right? More like a contribution kind of a stuff, right? So choosing such people, because it is, nobody will come and say that I am not interested, right? The point is, are they really interested for the right reason?
Right.
So getting that set is another big problem, and that is why we need people who have accomplished well in the life to help us choose such people.
So we're calling them the stalwarts. So I had mentioned the two layers, right? And the third one would be the stalwarts, as Rajiv mentioned. So stalwarts, the mentors, and the people who are starting out. These are the three layers of lawyers that we're looking at.
So they will help the common man to gain justice. And what I'm understanding is it is a very ambitious project or initiative, if I may say. तो उसके बारे में और बात करने से पहले मैं जानना चाहती हूँ कि what has been your career journey so that today you are here and you feel like, you know, confident enough that, okay, we can do this, let's do this.
I think
So yeah,
career
we can-
journey तो उन्हीं की है, मेरा तो शुरू हो रहा है. तो
Definitely.
yeah.
So, okay, so I'll try and see. My journey would, in terms of profession, would have started in 1990, I think. That's the first venture I started when I was 19. That was because my thing starts from computing to mental health to law to biodiversity and many other stuff of that nature, right? So all through my career, I've been building things.
Yeah.
And where I am mostly engaged is what we call in the startup arena 0 to 1. The stage where nothing pretty much exists to a stage where something is built and then other people can scale, right? That's pretty much what I have done in various fields, from the software to biodiversity to law to mental health, and more actively since 2010. I think personally, from our own fund that we have, we would have supported at least 10-15 ventures which come in the social
Wow.
enterprise space. This would be something very similar in the same space in some nature, right? And it's not that all of them have flourished well. So it is like, I look at it like this, that a typical commercial venture has about 10% chance of working, something like this, maybe 1%. But then it has to be ambitious enough to put money onto something which has 99% chance of not working, right? So I would
Yeah.
rather try and see if we can hit a 6, right? So then at least even if we go for duck, then it is worth it, right? So that is why it has to be ambitious for me.
Yeah. And actually, I write poems. So I have written one poem, and the title is The Ocean of Failures Makes Me Win. So, yeah, I agree with your statements. And so I also read about you that you are a linguist. So you know how many languages do you know?
Beyond the mother tongue of Hindi, and English is almost pretty near to it. But yeah, I would have 2 bachelors in Sanskrit.
Wow.
And then I would have a reasonable grasp on Russian.
Oh.
And a little bit on Prakrit, which was a language which was in the similar time frame as Sanskrit. So Sanskrit is like, if one goes and he reads history, right? So Sanskrit was a lingua franca possibly of the elite. The local populace spoke Prakrit. And how we know that is because in the various nataks that exist of that time, the character like Brahmin or the king spoke in Sanskrit. The layman spoke in Prakrit.
Okay.
So that is also a little bit that I would know of.
Wow. Amazing. Siddharth, would you like to share about your journey so far?
Yeah, I mean, whatever little journey I've had, I would say I've been a very confused young adult while I was a young adult. I think now I've hopefully matured into a full adult. So there was this poem, I think by Hemingway, if I'm not wrong, which says there's so many different people inside me, and which is why it's unfair for me to pick one. Okay.
Right.
And that I think really gelled with me, because I wanted to do so many things, right from my school life. I was unable to pick one, and which is why I've been all over the place in the past 15 years, I think. So there was a time I wanted to be a musician. Okay.
Okay.
I think I didn't put in much effort. I think so that didn't happen. There was a time I thought I would want to go into research, pure sciences, so, which is why I studied chemistry in my bachelor's. But then I lost interest by the end of it.
Okay.
But I think one thing which has stuck with me all through, right from my school life till now, was my interest in social sciences. Okay, understanding society, understanding the frameworks in which it is established, developmental studies, stuff like that. So unfortunately, I wasn't brave enough to take up humanities in 11th and 12th, and which is why I had to probably carry on with sciences till my graduation also. But one great opportunity I had after my graduation was to work as a founding volunteer in an NGO.
Okay.
That I would probably say was my first proper professional engagement, okay, after college. And that also validated the fact that this is something I'm really interested in. Unfortunately, we couldn't carry on that project for very long. We did it for about 1.5 years probably, and we ran into funding issues. This was basically called the Village Development Foundation, and we were tapping on this yojana by the government called the Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana. I won't go into the details, but so basically it was village welfare, and we ran into funding issues, so it didn't work. Then I ventured into public relations, managed PR for a few government agencies, a few state governments. I was working with an agency. Then moved on to marketing for a few startups. And but while I was at these jobs, I didn't think that these were particularly for me. And I would still hear a voice, which would push me to do something which is again to do with the society, right? So
And this is all before you started thinking that I want to be a lawyer.
so I was of the opinion that that I've missed the bus. Okay. Because while I was working in these fields, I was already 27, 28, right? 28 is I think when I probably enrolled in law. Okay. So this did come in mind. It did pop in my mind that law is a good option because the concept of ikigai had been popularized back then, right? It's still very popular, especially after the book. But that concept, I put some conscious thought into that concept, and I realized that law for me seems like my ikigai because
Your calling.
it's something which I think I would enjoy. It's something which will give back to the society. I will have an option of doing that. It will also probably be financially viable, right? And it's something that I think I would have some ability also. So it hits all the 4 checkboxes. But the problem was I thought I had missed the bus. I was too late to take it up. Fortunately for me, COVID happened. And I could take that time to think and introspect, right? And not be busy with my routine job. And then I took that leap of faith. I wrote my exams and the rest is history. I've been in this profession for about 5 years now. And so far it's been very good.
I think 2 points for me that stands in this, right? This point that one feels that they have missed the bus, right?
Yeah.
They never try to take the other bus even if it may be late.
Yes.
Right? People keep on standing on the bus stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it takes a lot of courage
Right.
to decide.
And that is why I wanted to point that, right?
Yeah.
That in our thought process which flows, we have a kind of a time structure of things, right? But one may not sometimes for any number of reasons. And then one may have to take and do something about it and maybe take a bus which comes late.
Yeah.
Because that when you find the bus that you are going is not interesting enough for you, what fun would be to continue in that?
Yeah.
Right? You might get down and take another one. And the other thing which he has not spelled out is, I think he has built a good framework to track himself in sense of what he's earning and what he's spending. Not because that he has limitation in money that he can always get from his parents, right? It's like a self-check scenario to ensure are you moving in your own framework, right? Is an interesting thing that he does.
Yes.
So the fact that he's been able to point this out is because he's been a mentor for me for, I think, the past 4 years almost, I think. I think we met right after COVID.
So how did you two meet, if I may ask?
I think we met at... so because he and I, the one thing common in us is we try to keep exploring different opportunities. We like meeting new people. So there was this group, I forgot the name of the group.
It's called NCR Alternative Collective. So there's another person we know in common.
Yeah.
Okay.
He started that, and it was just an impromptu kind of gathering in the India Habitat Center, right?
Okay.
And we didn't know each other before that, right? So there was a guy called Darpan, right? And he also knew him for some reason. I knew him from some other reason. And we just ended meeting there. That's it.
Meeting Darpan was also very weird. I met him at a restaurant. We were at the adjacent tables, and we just laughed at something that happened there, and that's how we connected and we started talking. So yeah, so this is weird coincidences that have landed me here today, because it's only because of Darpan that I met Rajiv, and it's only because of Rajiv that I met all the other people, Gaurav and Kamlesh.
Right.
So I'm very thankful to him for, being a mentor, and he's always lent me a very patient ear, through all these years. So yeah.
Right. And as you were sharing your story, I was thinking that, of course, as children, we always try to fit in that box that, our social construct has led us to. But you tried and you became successful, I would say, in breaking that and thinking for yourself, okay, I don't know if it will work out or not for me, but let me just try it. So that in itself is a very brave step. So let's shift gears and let's jump to how was your first courtroom experience? Like, we have prejudice about the courtrooms in India. So studying as a lawyer is maybe different, but when you become one, so how was it?
I think a lot of this podcast is going to be me thanking a lot of people.
Sure, why not?
So after COVID, the lockdown was lifted, right? I joined a law office, and this was the office of a very senior advocate by his name is Arvind Kumar Shukla. And in law, he is my mentor. I mean, hands down. He's the person who's taught me whatever I know. I don't know much, but whatever I know, it's all because of him. Unfortunately, he's a little upset with me today. I mean, not today, for the past 6 months. I think because of some misunderstandings. So maybe if he sees this, it's also an apology to him that, I always consider him my godfather-in-law. And so the opportunity that he gave me to work with him, I worked with him for almost 4 years. And he was very generous with giving opportunities to young people. And me with no background at all in law. He asked me to prepare, the first thing that he asked me to prepare in office was a bail application in a murder case. So our client was a murder accused, and I was tasked with preparing the bail application for him.
So how your moral compass worked, like when you got that case to make that bail application?
Yeah.
तो क्या लॉ में आपको ये पढ़ाया जाता है कि ऐसे केसेस आएंगे एंड यू नीड टू बी मेंटली प्रिपेयर्ड बिकॉज यू डू नॉट नो कि द it's a victim or is he or she not? So how do you emotionally, make up your mind in handling that?
Yeah, interesting, because this is the same question I put to Arvind sir when I was given this task. Okay, because for me it was I was pleasantly shocked, I would say. Okay, I was happy that he's given me this work, but it was still, there were too many questions in my mind because it's the first time I was drafting something, the first task in law, and that too of a murderer, right? So, the first thing he told me that how do we know if he is a murderer? He is still an accused, okay, right? So when I told him he's a murderer, so he said we don't know, right? We only know if he's a murderer once the trial has ended, right? So once there's a judgment passed against him, only then he is a convict of a murder, right? So that's the first distinction that you have to put in your mind, that you don't have to put anybody in that bracket. Don't judge anybody. For us, that person is a client, okay? We only see and hear what that person tells us and what the documentation tells us. That's the professional way of approaching any case, right?
Okay.
It is advisable to not breach that that discipline or that procedure, because if you try and go beyond, if you try to get to know that person as that person, you might complicate things for yourself. So it is best to stick to what the documents tell you and what he or she as a client tells you, right?
So would you agree to this, that becoming a lawyer is just not about studies, but it's also about mentorship, where you get, this kind of advice, suggestions from your mentor,
Definitely.
the human input.
Yeah, so for my case, I did not go to college, okay, because my college was during lockdown, so there was no college. I only gave exams. So my college was the law office, and my teacher was Arvind sir. Not just him, even the other seniors there, Nihal sir and the others. So they were all very helpful. So that was my college, and so which is why I can't comment on whether it's important to focus on your law school also. But I think definitely you should focus on your studies because they provide a good foundation for you to build upon, right? But I think both are equally important.
Right.
You have to have that practical exposure, especially in litigation. Okay? Well, litigation is when you go to the court and you argue in a dispute, right? There are other types of law practices wherein you can be in the office, you can so for example, corporate law is majorly, and especially if you're not dealing in corporate disputes, right, you can be doing a lot of background paperwork, you can be drafting contracts, agreements, stuff like that. But especially for litigation and disputes, right, it's important to have that practical exposure.
Maybe I can add something to it. You can think of it like this, right? So there is theory and there is execution.
Yeah.
So what one reads in the college is mostly the theoretical part of it.
Yes.
And then the court is where you execute that. So, and it is true for other fields also, be it coding, be it medicine, right? So as a surgeon, you may read how the anatomy of the body is, but when the actual surgery happens, that's the execution of it, right? So when the actual surgery happens, a person could feel how hard or elastic or non-elastic the skin is when you cut it, when you put the knife on it, right? And when the blood flows, how it obscures the things that you're looking at, right? And same goes in the law also. So one can read many doctrines of, let's say, legitimate expectation and things of this nature, but how exactly it gets executed when you are in the court, right? So there are a lot of things which may not be part of the draft, but when you do a verbal argument, right? So, and specifically the high courts and the Supreme Court, right? The whole court hearing happens in the public, right? So other people are also there. So there is an emotional effect of what you're putting, right? And that is, so for example, I was talking to someone, right, a young lawyer who had come to us, how suddenly this pressure of being put into spot, right? So he was basically representing an AOR who had to come, and he was asked, on whose behalf have you come? Now this is something he had not thought about what to answer.
Okay.
Right. So these are things one only learns when somebody is put into spots. That's the executional learning. So the point that I'm making is the theory and the execution, and both are necessary. So if you're executing and you're not clear on the theory, how will you execute well? Right? If you only know the theory and you don't know how to execute, again you will not execute well. So the game does not happen with both the wheels.
So the technical term for the execution that he's saying is procedure. So there is procedure, right? You learn a lot of theory, but there is a lot of procedure that goes into litigation, and that only comes when you actually do it. Which is why internships. I mean, if you're asking me advice for law students, right? It's very important to take your internships very seriously, because that's where you learn procedure.
Okay, so talking about procedures, what is the biggest challenge that you feel is there with our Indian justice system? And second, for a common man, do you think like they have the kind of awareness that they should have in our country?
So if you ask for my opinion, I still think I'm a very young lawyer to give my opinion, but I can definitely quote from the bigger personalities in law. There are a lot of judges who've spoken on this. There are a lot of senior lawyers who've spoken on this, and I can, from what they've spoken, I can tell you that definitely there is a lot of scope for improvement in our law system, especially the courts at the district levels, right? So the courts start from the district courts, then the high courts, and then the Supreme Court. That's for a layperson, those are the major courts that they know of, right? And there are problems with the district judiciary, right? For example, just the infrastructure, right? There are cases where we've heard that a lot of female judges are uncomfortable taking up the jobs just because there are no separate toilets for female judges. So if that's the state of judges in the district judiciary, you can imagine what it is for the litigants and the lawyers, right? Other thing is that there's a lot of pendency in cases. A lot of positions of judges are vacant. So there are these problems. There are also very lengthy procedures. From time to time, people have been working on it. The Law Commission, the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court often gives you judgments where it comments on what procedures should be followed. So that's been happening, and it's a dynamic process. But yeah, there are these problems, especially at the grassroots level.
So adding to this, what you are asking, how easy or difficult it is for a common man, right?
Yeah.
To access the justice system, right? See, on paper we have excellent laws, right? Again, I'll come back to the execution. The devil lies in detail. So some of the things that he's pointing out, right? Infrastructure problems, let's say. The judge who's sitting in that courtroom, and she finds it difficult to be comfortable in that, right? So don't you think that would impact what she does in her job?
Absolutely.
And same way, it could be for a lot of other people, right? So for example, I would have visited certain police stations and things, right? They don't have even working lights clearly. And when somebody is working like that, obviously, don't you think their efficiency will also go down? And that person would be irritated, right? So in India, very few experimental research happen, right? How each small things impact the efficacy and efficiency of what happens, all in detail, right? So there was an interesting research done, I think, in Israel of parole boards, right? So what they did was they were looking at how the number of paroles being granted before the lunch, when it is about the lunch time, and after the lunch time kind of stuff, right? There was a very significant, statistically significant result. When the people came in the morning, the number of paroles being granted was high. and towards the lunch it became very minimal, right? So it is not coming from that just because a person is hungry. There is this automatic need to finish and go, right? And that would be very similar here. There is hardly any great research done like that, right? When there is so much of clutter and things happening, it becomes very difficult for a human to operate in it. So this mostly the devil lies in details problem. So execution is quite pathetic, and that makes it difficult to access, is what I'll say.
Correct. I would like to know, so what is the fee that a lawyer charges in India, like from the minimum to the maximum?
Interesting question. I don't think there is any benchmark, right?
Yes, okay.
And it could be almost negligible to whatever you can think of, right?
Okay.
So almost negligible means I'm talking of $200-300 kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
And what you can think of is what one representation, 15, 20, 30 lakhs?
Yeah, definitely.
That kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
Just
for
one
hearing.
appearance,
Just
one
hearing,
appearance,
yeah.
right? So it could be that kind of a range, right?
Which is why we are in the profession.
Profession of law, right? Before the independence, it was one big thing, right? People went to UK to get their degrees, and most of the stalwarts in the Indian political system were lawyers. Be it Nehru, be it I think Ambedkar was also one, right?
Yeah.
All of these guys were, right? And they were all sharp minds, and they were proud of being one, right? Because it had a lot of meaning. And that's not the case today. So if one goes into a district court, you'll find lawyers not even having a table to sit on.
Right.
That is the actual ground situation. And then you will have lawyers who will have fleets of the best possible cars. That's the spectrum. But that best possible car spectrum would be less than 0.001%. And not having a table would be quite large.
To add to that, I'll tell you the reason for this variance, okay? Right? So the fee that is attached to any case is generally in direct proportion to what is at stake. Okay. So, which is why, the people, the lawyers whose clientele is of maybe bigger companies or individuals who have a lot at stake, right? So the proportion of the fees, it varies in that proportion.
But it means what is at stake? What will you lose if you do it, right?
Would lose or gain.
Yeah, obviously both, lose and gain. And the loss is a bigger parameter that you don't want to have, right? So, and if it is a big one, you're going to hire the costliest, right?
Yeah.
So you're just trying to hedge your risks, okay? Because a more renowned lawyer, the probability of that's how the client thinks, is what I'm telling you, right? So for him, the probability of a more renowned lawyer getting him a favorable order is definitely more than somebody who's lesser known. So they are trying to hedge their risks because there is no certainty be it the best lawyer in the country, he can also not guarantee you the result. So it's a game of probabilities. So the more that a person has at risk, the more he will try to hedge it by engaging a more renowned lawyer.
Right. And a question in addition to that for a very common man, like people who are not coming from a well-off economic background, for them, I have read about that, there is a sense of mistrust. So why that trust is missing between the common man and the lawyers?
Interesting point. See, the point is, how do one trust, right?
Yeah.
To build a trust, one has to first know how to judge.
Yes.
Right? What are the parameters that I will know, right? So if a person does not really know the law themselves and does not know how to test the skill of the other person, right? How will they trust it, right? So the only thing which is left with them is to either look at the past, right? Get some referrals. Now there is no open data also through which they can get some referrals. to figure out these are the cases this lawyer has done. This is what this guy was able to achieve. Now the other point is, it is not only a win and loss of the case. What was the... So maybe you were talking of, let's say, a case of murder. So the relief does not mean the person was sent to the prison or not, right? Maybe were you able to put an able defense, right? And maybe it was not an intentional cold-blooded murder, right? Maybe it was a crime of passion which was to be there, right? And there is a difference between the two games, right? Or was it a defense, right? So maybe the person was able to get relief on that stance, right? But there is a difference. Is the person who's going to a lawyer able to understand from judgment what it was?
Right.
Most of the people are not equipped, right? So build a trust, they should have that kind of knowledge on themselves which does not exist, right? So it is already something that they have no ability to figure out on themselves, right? So how they trust normally? They will ask somebody.
A relative or a friend.
Yes. What is it like? And then based on that, they will take somebody, right? And then there is this devil in the detail thing I'm saying, right? So they don't understand the procedure is also lengthy and the way it moves. And because it becomes frustrating, where the frustration goes to? The lawyer, right? And in countries like ours, we are looking at predictability. When I can't even predict when I start my car from home, how long would I take here, right? So even the Google kept on changing when I was coming to your place, right?
Yes.
So basically when I started, I told him 10:10, right? Then in that time of 25 minutes which I had to take from my home to that place, it became from 10:10 to 10:21, right?
Right.
So it changed by 11 minutes and 25 minutes. I'm talking 50% change. In the law,
Right.
it is a very subjective field. Nobody can give you that prediction. But when that happens, all that mistrust comes on the law firm and that lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they have not started with the right expectation. Okay? And that is where the mistrust would happen. And the same thing would have happened with the lawyer also. The lawyer comes with the idea this guy will never trust, right?
Yeah.
So this is a profession for them, right? So he will also say, let me get my fees. I don't know whether this guy will leave in between or not. So what it ends up is into window shopping.
Correct.
Switching from one lawyer to another, and pretty much not helping both sides. And this is a big problem which exists.
So talking from experience, a lot of our effort, energy, time goes into making the client understand that what we're doing is what is best for you.
The best in your capacity.
No, not best in our capacity. That we anyways are doing, because unless we do our best, we can't expect the best results. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the time goes in explaining to them that what we're doing is the best for you. The approach, the strategy that we've made, that is the best strategy for you. Because what happens, especially nowadays with the internet, they will look up, and this also happens with doctors, I think. So people will research themselves, and they will bring some judgments, they will bring you videos, कि सर ये देखिए इसमें तो ये कह रहा है. So then we have to, first answer all of their questions, convince them that this is the right path, this is why this is the right path. And a lot of times, despite all of that, they will end up not pursuing it with you.
Yeah. Because they are coming with an expectation कि हमें तो जीतना ही है ये केस.
जीतना हम भी चाहते हैं कि आप जीते हैं. हम आपको हराने के लिए नहीं लड़ रहे, जिताने के लिए. हम बता रहे हैं कि ये करेंगे तो आप जीतेंगे.
Right.
But because there is so much misinformation also floating around, it's very difficult. And
rather, what I would say is they are coming with a distrust already, right?
Also,
that you are there just to make money, right?
Right.
And you will try to fleece more money from me. And that is why you are taking this extra step. Okay. So the biggest problem that happens is to dilute, not to build trust, to dilute distrust. that this is a process which will happen, why we are taking this process, why it is unpredictable also, right? And to build that kind of a rapport is a huge problem, right? So when they go to a bigger client, they already have that ki, theek hai, this is how they will go, right? These are experienced people who have already accessed judicial system, who go to these big clients. So they already know how it goes. So they have lesser of distrust to start with. People who are accessing for the first time, and which is the majority, they only go with the stereotypical notion that they are there to be fleeced.
Right.
And they start with distrust. And that is the one big bane where it starts from. So there is in psychology, there is a thing that if I think he's a thief and I will treat him like one, he will turn out to be a thief to me only. So this is the same thing which happens in this profession also. Right.
So this, although I didn't want to point this out because this is also going to taint the fraternity of lawyers, but not saying that everybody is the same. But the reason for this distrust is also because a lot of people, their experiences with the lawyers, right? So it's a very common practice that one client would go to different lawyers at different stages of their case. And once they've felt cheated by a couple of people, that's the same mind frame with which they will approach you. So the doubt, multiplies manifold. So, and that's an unfortunate reality, but yeah.
Okay. तो इस डिस्ट्रस्ट का क्या एक फैक्टर ये भी है दैट आवर जुडिशियल सिस्टम टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू डिलीवर द फाइनल वर्डिक्ट, और ऐसा क्यों है? मतलब आई ऑलवेज हियर एंड वी रीड कि सो एंड सो केसेस टुक more than 10 years, 20 years. So why is that?
No one particular reason. That it's a combination of many reasons. One that I had already said was there is a shortage of judges. There is a lot of pressure on the existing judiciary, at all levels, district level, high court level, Supreme Court level, everywhere there is a huge pendency of matters. The number of matters a judge can take in a day is only limited, right?
Okay.
So I think that is one of the biggest reasons why it takes so long. The other reason could be, or possibly is also because, and although I think you can't do away with that, it's necessary because the procedure is such, because the basic concept is that we don't want even one innocent person to be convicted, right? It's better that as compared to maybe if 10 criminals go free, that's okay, but one innocent person should not be convicted. So for that, to ensure that, the procedure has been made keeping that in mind, right? Which is why it's a lengthy procedure, right? So that takes time, but I think it is necessary to follow that to the T. Only then can you actually achieve true justice, if done in the right spirit, that is. But I think, so because we were talking about the problems with the judiciary earlier, and I was saying that a lot of judges have spoken about this, right? So one of the things that has been proposed to amend this is that to fill up vacancies of the district courts, one thing that has been proposed many times but it's still not seen the light of day is having a all India judicial services exam. So for right now, the appointment of judges at the district level is done by states. So there are different state exams for different state judiciaries, right? There's no one all India. So that way you can attract better talent also, and you can fill up more vacancies. Also, another thing pointed, I think this was by the former Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, I think, if I'm not wrong. He had pointed this out, that in a lot of countries, the Supreme Court does not conduct oral hearings for every case. Okay, a lot of because the cases that come to the Supreme Court are the cases which have been already heard at lower courts, right? So when you already have all that material and you're trusting the Supreme Court judges, you're trusting their judgment, right? So you can also trust them that without actually having an oral argument, just by perusing those documents, they could be able to come up with a decision. That saves a lot of the active court time. So yeah, I mean, things like that can be done. You didn't ask me the solutions though, but I still thought it's important to tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reasons, I think, one major reason is that there's a lot of vacancies, especially at the district levels, and that should be. And also, we should have more judges, not just fill up these vacancies, but also create more vacancies.
I think what Siddharth is saying is a point, but I think if you look at a meta level, there are a lot of cases which should not have even come to the court, should have been done at the level of administration itself. The point that I was raising earlier, distrust. We have distrust at the level of the society also.
Yeah.
Okay. And there is enough data, there is a huge cost that the society pays because of distrust. Okay. So in the administration also, no officer would like to take a subjective decision. And there are a lot of things which are very subjective and dependent on the ground situation. Right. Why they don't take it? Their problem is not that they don't have the intelligence to take it. The problem is, if I take it, somebody will point, this guy had some personal interest in it. And then this guy will be answering something for which they have no reason to, right? So we have taken away that discretion. And what happens is nobody wants to do it. Right? So agency has been taken from people. Our whole system is built that you look at everybody like a thief. Right? Everybody. So why will somebody then take any call? And it will get shifted to somebody else, right? Because I don't want to be blamed.
Correct.
And that is why it will get piled up at somebody's desk. So there are so many things which should not have been piled up, and that is how only high valued things will be at the right desk, and then you can apply right mind.
Yeah.
That is how it happens, right? And it happens in many places from our homes.
Yeah.
We don't make the kid capable enough to take their own calls. The parents will take the calls for them.
Yeah.
Instead of putting the effort how to think, we get people to think what to think.
Yeah.
There, I think, is the problem. So this cannot be solved from here. It is a thing which has to be solved ab initio.
Yeah.
Right.
One more example of what he's saying is, and which will also answer that question, one more point why it takes so long and why there is so much pendency, right? The same logic that people don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to keep that accountability with them, right? They want to pass on the baton to somebody else. So a lot of times, especially government, okay, the government officials do not want to be held responsible for a decision, which is why they pass it on to the judiciary. So what they want is that once a decision has come from the court, okay, it is not theirs then. It is the court's decision. So a lot of times, so government is the largest litigant of the country. The maximum cases filed are by the government. And time and again, the Supreme Court has commented and reprimanded the government for filing frivolous cases. The cases which did not need to be filed at all. Heavy costs have also been imposed on the government for doing this, because the expectation is that the government should deal with those things at their level. They don't need to bring it to the court. But because the government has the money, they have the resources, they have lawyers at every level, the government lawyers, it's almost become mechanical and without application of mind that if any case that the government files or is a party to is dismissed at a lower level, without application of mind whether it needs to be appealed, there will always be an appeal and they will go up till the Supreme Court. So that wastes a lot of time of the
and resources,
especially of the higher judiciary also. So yeah.
Interesting point. Now the point is, why are they appealing? Are they stupid? No, the point is they don't appeal. Whichever person was responsible, somebody else will come. Why didn't he appeal? So the whole point comes to that we do not trust. And that is how we have built all of it, right? I'll give you a very current example. MCD basically had put this in the property tax, an option that they made it mandatory that even if somebody else is lifting the garbage, you pay us for the garbage, right? And they made that checkbox mandatory. So the people who paid early had to pay it. That includes me. And while there is another set of things which pick garbage from our colony, right? And then when there was a lot of hue and cry, MCD made it optional.
Okay.
Now the people who typically pay early have already paid. Now they are not going to refund it. If you will ask for the refund, what will it create? You will have to go to the court. Now it is not that they can't refund. The thing is, anybody who will refund will also be called for task. Why did you?
Yeah.
So that person will not take that decision. They know that you go to the court, you will win. But then that would be just clogging the court. And that is how the whole process works, right? So this comes from this thing that we are not figuring a way to somehow build this trust deficit in the whole society, right? And what we do is we add 2 more processes which can't be handled. Because we are either way not handling the other one, right?
Yeah.
So all our society is going into who should I blame? Instead of figuring out, is this system working or can I change this? We look at the scenario whose neck is on the block, right? And I think most of this thing was coming in building trust. This whole Trijus thing also came from how can we build trust? So a plaintiff who wants to come to a lawyer, how can we educate that plaintiff to understand what the system is about? So they take an educated call.
Yes.
Right? So educated call on themselves, not the other person, that I know what the hell I'm thinking. Okay. So there is where the trust starts from. The trust is not on the other person. It is on their own ability to take a good call.
How would you two comment on, okay, we talked about simple cases, but what about difficult ones where it's a murder trial or something like that? So being like a lawyer or being just a part of that system, like a judge, have there been times where, you feel, you have felt threatened because sometimes you have to take the difficult call, or maybe judges in India, they have to give a verdict. I cannot even imagine the kind of pressure that they might have in their minds and the lawyers would have in their minds. So
you're saying the threat of the other party
Yeah,
harming
yeah.
the lawyer also.
Yeah.
Right. The first part, I would say there are no simple cases, I think. I mean, every case
Right.
is its own case. So I would not want to categorize any case as a simple or a difficult case. But difficult in terms of the threat, if you're saying, then probably yes. I mean, not every case that you might feel threatened. And I've been, unfortunately, I've been in a situation where I did perceive a little threat in one of the cases, because we used to do a lot of criminal cases with Arvind sir, I had mentioned, who's my mentor. So, without going into the details because of the confidentiality, so yeah, there was a time where this for this case we had to travel to a different state high court, okay, and this was also a murder trial,
Okay.
and but this time we were not for the murder accused, but we were for the complainant, okay, and whose relative had been murdered. So we wanted to get her justice and bring those accused persons to book. And there were about 20 accused persons in that trial. Okay. So yeah, we used to travel from Delhi to another state high court for that, and we used to travel with the client sometimes, because that client also had to be present at the proceeding. And there was a stage where certain things had transpired where there could have been threat to the client. So traveling with the client was a threat for us. So I would not say directly being a lawyer was a threat, because we were engaged by that client. But yeah, if we had traveled with that client, maybe if somebody tries to harm the client, as collateral, we also might, come in the harm's way. So yeah, so that's one experience I've had of experiencing that.
So the risk is again high.
It's real, yeah. I mean,
It's
all of
real.
that is a part of the profession. Yeah.
100% real, depending on what is on the other party. Right? It could pretty much be real in some cases, right? And more so in trial cases.
Yeah.
And it could be quite real. And not only it can be for anyone, even the policeman, even the judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because none of us is an island, right? We are connecting to other people. So they may not threaten you directly, but the threat can come to one of your relatives, right? And this is there pretty much.
And we've seen it in the movies, and a lot of it is true. What the movies show. I mean, you've seen in the movies that witnesses are murdered just before the date, and all of that. It's
Yeah.
all inspired from real events. It all happens. Yeah.
So one is like not my primary, but somebody I know very closely and aware of that, right? So his father was murdered. He was a reasonably well-known politician, right? Kind of a minister level kind of thing, right? It was a high-profile case like what we're talking about, right? It was in the UP, and the accused was also very high-profile, and these guys were also, and so a lot of it would be very show of strength. So even to get witnesses, what he's talking about, to depose against them is not easy. So your whole case can get hijacked like that. It's not easy.
So not just for the lawyers, and not just for defense lawyers, even the prosecution, the police, they have to put their life at risk to bring in these witnesses safely. So yeah, both the sides in criminal practice, they definitely are at risk.
And how would you, in your opinion, you can let our viewers know the degree of justice that is served by our Indian justice system and the degree of rehabilitation that is there. So do you think there's a balance or it needs to be changed?
I think this is a heavy question for me, considering my experience. I think the follow-up guests who are much more experienced lawyers, Kamlesh and Gaurav, they would be better people to comment on this. And I think we're having a podcast with them also later.
Okay.
So I think we could leave that question for them to answer.
Sure. But I think on the rehab part, I think we have still not done anything great, right? So getting rehab from the government for people getting wrongly accused and anything, there is hardly any great precedence as far as India goes. Because there are many of those natures where the verdict was overturned, right?
Okay.
People who were convicted and then overturned by the Supreme Court and things like this. There's hardly anything in the rehab nature which would have happened for them.
Yeah, taking a cue from that, there's a recent case wherein the Supreme Court has acquitted 3 people who were convicted of rape and murder, I think, and of a 19-year-old woman, and they've been acquitted now by the Supreme Court. Okay, so they were on a death row, right? And now they're free. It's not that their sentence has been reduced. I hope I'm getting the facts right, but yeah, so they've been acquitted, and now they have filed for compensation. So imagine if somebody is innocent and they've been wrongly convicted. Accused is the first step, and after that the lower courts and the high court accuse you of that crime, and they punish you with death penalty, and you have to live your life in that trauma until Supreme Court overturns the entire thing. So your entire life, you wasted your entire life. We don't know what the truth of the matter may be, because like I said, the courts, the lawyers, we only look at documentation, right? We can't go back to the incident and verify what happened. It's only the evidence, the circumstances, the witnesses that have to be examined, and based on which a judge can decide. So, well, no one can be 100% sure what was the right decision. But because we consider Supreme Court as the highest authority in the judicial system, and if they have overturned it, so we take it as they being not guilty, right? So somebody who's not guilty and who've been accused of something that severe and punished of death, that's how they live their life, and now they're free. So rehab, I think, is one thing, but compensation is also one factor that should be looked into. And which is why this has been highlighted, because there's no such provision as yet for compensation to people who have been wrongly accused and convicted. So yeah, rehab and compensation, they're both very
Basically,
important.
compensation is also part of rehab.
Rehab, yeah.
Right? So there were people, what he's saying is wrongly accused, right? And as per Supreme Court, they were wrongly accused and they spent 15 years of their life possibly in the prison. Now, when they come out, what do you do with them, right? So, because it is our system which failed them.
Yes.
There is no compensation, and for compensation, again, they will have to fight, I don't know how long. And what compensation they will get is again not known. So, just trying to answer that, right? And same way, rehabilitation of somebody who was there, maybe rightly accused also. Again, that's reasonably poor, right? So, we work with some people in that area, but it is like on paper, but on ground, quite poor. So just think of it like this. Somebody comes and tells that I was in prison and I was accused. Don't you think you will not really hire that person?
Absolutely.
So basically what that means is that person will have to hide that information. Or rather, we have a bigger thing. If you hire them and then if he does something, then you are the person accused. Why did you hire him? Okay. So where is the pathway?
Now, also, I have heard many times when the accused is asked to come into the court for the first hearing, sometimes they go back to their homes and villages and they just don't appear because they have a fear if we appear, we might get wrongly convicted. So, of course, there's a lack of education there. But again, what are a few misconceptions that the common people have about the criminal justice system?
Because I've not looked at it from that perspective of a common person and what misconceptions they might have. But that specific question that you've put, that a person would run away, so that comes again from what we had discussed, that the one perception everybody has is that it's going to be a very lengthy process. The entire trial will take years, right? So once somebody is accused, they will ask around, and the information they will get is that if you try and seek justice from the courts, and especially in a criminal case, because you're fighting against the state, like I said, the state will appeal after every decision. So let's say even if the lower court, the district court, rules in your favor, the state will definitely appeal that decision, go to the high court. Even if the high court upholds the district court's decision, the state will go to the Supreme Court, right? So the accused person knows that it's going to be a very long battle, okay? And there's no guarantee that at the end of it, he will come on the right side of it, right? So it's, I think, out of sheer fear of engaging in this process, and so yeah, I mean, people think that if there's a possibility of running away, why not? So I think that's the mindset that they come from.
Can you maybe be more explicit? What's that you're saying, a common person? So you're saying people may get a summon, like a witness, right? And they get afraid at times. Because just because you've been served a summon and you run away, that doesn't make sense, right? So it's not that one should be so afraid of any process, right? I think one should also take it sometime as a process to learn what it is, right? Because if somebody just, you act on your fear instead of trying to try and understand what is it, You only add to the fear, is what I'll say.
This reminds me, there's a recent judgment wherein, so there are certain procedures laid down by law wherein if you're arresting somebody, there are certain things that the police must, certain rights that you have, right? But they're generally very, because they're written in legal language, they're generally not known to people, right? That's one thing which is very important to make people aware of, that what are their rights at the time of being arrested. So, for example, one such right is that they have to know the grounds on which, or the provisions under which they are being arrested. And in the language and in the manner in which they understand. So it's not just that the police will tell you that under these sections, you're charged under these sections, and which is why we are arresting you. No, you have to tell them. So the Supreme Court has recently said that the police must ensure that the person you're arresting understands, in whatever way he wants to understand. So it must be conveyed very clearly in his lay language that these are the reasons for which you are being arrested. That didn't used to happen earlier at all, right? Although it's a part of the provision, but it wasn't followed properly. The other thing is that you must be produced in front of a magistrate within 24 hours of your arrest. People didn't know, right? They don't know. अब arrest कर लिया है, वो थाने में है. So unless they know their rights, they can't challenge the irregularities done by the police. So yeah.
And the meta concept that I can bring to this is, person should delegate their thing, not abdicate. What that means is, if as a person somebody is engaged or maybe accused, called wherever, right? It makes sense for them to understand what the process is. They can hire a lawyer, whatever. That is like delegation of that work to them. Abdication is, I have no clue. I ask that person, क्या होगा जी, बता दीजिए कब तक हो जाएगा. Now then you are asking to be cheated only, or you are asking that person to give you some wrong information, right? So if you have understood that process, right, on the concept level, you may not know exact nitty-gritty, which is okay. One should have an understanding at the concept level for sure.
Okay.
And that is what I'm saying. They should delegate to somebody, not abdicate. They have to be aware what's happening.
So, like this example, has anything else has also come in as a change in this whole system, which has improved the way this whole procedure works, from where the FIR is filed against a person and till the time they get justice? So anything that has improved that you might have
Like the
noticed?
example I just told you, right?
Yeah.
So this is, like I said, it's a dynamic process. As in when, so generally a lot of reform is brought about by Supreme Court judgments. Okay, and when Supreme Court finds there are some irregularities happening in the way the written law is interpreted by the implementing authorities, agencies, it will clarify by the way of its judgments as to what is the right way of going about those things. So like I just pointed out, in this judgment, it clearly mentioned that you must convey, the police must convey to the accused person the reasons for his arrest. Similarly, if another recent judgment has, so this is supporting the police now. Okay, the earlier judgment I quoted was in support of the person being arrested, right, for his rights. But it should be balanced, right? It should not just be that you're always reprimanding the police, because the police is also always under a lot of pressure. They have a shortage of manpower. There are a lot of cases that they're handling at once, right? So there have to be things done in their support also. So one recent judgment I can think of is where the Supreme Court has, so there's a provision under CRPC called 156(3) of CRPC, wherein if the police refuses to register an FIR, right, then you can approach first the superintendent and then the magistrate to lodge your FIR. The complainant can do that. So a lot of times what used to happen was that the magistrate would order for registration of the FIR without hearing the police as to why they have refused to register the FIR. So it was made clear in this judgment that it is very important for the magistrate to also listen to the police and see what their side of the story is before passing a final order to. And that also helps in reducing the number of frivolous litigations, because maybe a party is influential and they can, I would say they can not meaning in any illegal way, but they could still push by engaging a renowned lawyer to convince the magistrate to order in their favor, right? And if they don't hear the other side's perspective, which is the police, it might lead to frivolous litigations being filed. So it helps that way also.
And answering your question more pointedly, what you're asking, what has improved for the common person, right? Is yes, a lot of these case laws get made from the courts also, not only from the codified law that we have. There are two things. One is the codified law. The other is the judgments which come. So the whole legal system does not just work on the codified law. It is also modified and improved by what judgments come. But what has improved is, all this was very difficult to get earlier. Today, a layman can easily get access to this information and basically do that education for themselves, to have at least a basic understanding what's happening. And that is what has improved. So judgments are very easily available, codified laws are very easily available, and even interpretation of these things are easily available.
Yeah.
So that has really improved. And that information, if processed well by that person, is the tool they can use to protect their rights.
Okay, sir, तो अब हम थोड़ी बात करते हैं कि जो इनिशिएटिव आप चारों मिलकर स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं, जिसका बहुत ही जल्दी लॉन्च भी होने वाला है थ्रू न्याय चक्र यात्रा, विच इज़ स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम दिल्ली टू सेवाग्राम. तो इस मॉडल के बारे में इफ़ यू कैन एक्सप्लेन कि हाउ इट विल वर्क एंड व्हाट इट्स ब्रिंगिंग टू द टेबल.
श्योर. सो आई थिंक क्योंकि हमने काफ़ी सारा बातचीत किया इस एरिया में क्या एग्जिस्ट करता है अलग अलग एंगल से. सो द वे वी थिंक, वन ऑफ द इंटरवेंशंस विच इज़ पॉसिबल, कोई सिल्वर बुलेट नहीं होता ना, यही होगा. ठीक है. सो वी लुक एट थिंग्स लाइक एक्सपेरिमेंट्स, राइट. सो कुछ चीज़ें समझते हैं, एक एक्सपेरिमेंट डिफाइन करते हैं, उसको लॉन्च आउट करते हैं, वैसे ही ये है. सो वॉट वी हैव अंडरस्टूड इज कि लिटिगेशन प्रैक्टिस किसी भी फर्स्ट जनरेशन लॉयर के लिए बिल्ड करना, खासकर क्रिमिनल स्पेस में, बहुत मुश्किल होता है. जैसा हमारा बातचीत हुआ इसलिए होता है क्योंकि जो चूज़ करता है प्लेंटिफ लॉयर को, उसके पास डेटा ही नहीं होता चूज़ कैसे करे. तो उसके पास सिर्फ एक ही डेटा पॉइंट होता है कि पास्ट उसका देख ले क्या किया है और बाजार से रेफरेंस ले ले. तो अब नया लॉयर है, उसका तो पास्ट होता ही नहीं है, तो डेटा ही नहीं होगा तो लेगा कहाँ से. ठीक है. क्योंकि उसका स्किल सेट और उसका इंटेंट चेक करने का तो इसके पास टूल्स ही नहीं है, तो कर ही नहीं सकता. और जो नया लॉयर जिसकी कैपेबिलिटी है और इंटेंट है मगर पास्ट नहीं है, वो घुसेगा ही नहीं क्योंकि उसे कोई काम ही नहीं देगा. तो वो कहाँ चला जाता है? वो ज़्यादातर किसी ना किसी कॉर्पोरेट में चला जाता है, क्योंकि पैसे मिलते हैं, उसमें भी तो पैसे कमाने ना. तो यहाँ एंटर ही नहीं करता. तो एनुअली उसे हार्डली 10 या 15% बच्चे लिटिगेशन में आते हैं, और वो भी मोस्टली उनका कोई ना कोई बैकअप होता है. तो वैसे ही वो नया आदमी एंटर नहीं होता. तो एक तो ये पार्ट को हमें सॉर्ट करना था. दूसरा, बहुत सारा जो प्लेंटिफ है या एक्यूज बोलते हैं जो क्रिमिनल में, उसको एक इफेक्टिव एफिशिएंट लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेशन का ज़रूरत है. और जिसका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड है, जिसका बहुत रेफरेंस है, वो उसके कमर्शियल रीच के बाहर है. तो वो ले ही नहीं पाता. फिर वो नेक्स्ट या उसके नेक्स्ट कुछ उठाने की कोशिश करता है और वो विंडो शॉपिंग में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है. तो उसका भी एक्सपीरियंस बुरा ही रहता है, और वो भी इसी कहानी में ऐड कर देता है कि ये सब बेकार है. ठीक है. तो हम उसके साथ एक ट्रस्ट बिल्ड कर पाएँ, तो यहाँ से हम फिल्टर कर पाएँ ऐसे यंग लॉयर्स जिनका अभी कुछ जान है और कैपेबिलिटी है, जो इसमें कुछ करना चाहेंगे, उनको हम एक पाथ दिखा पाएंगे, तुम्हारा कुछ प्रोफेशन बन पाएगा ऐसे में, ठीक है, उनको यहाँ ला पाए। ऐसे बंदे जिनको एक तरीके का पिल्ली रहा, थोड़ा ओपन है ट्राई करने को, उसको भी उठा पाए। उन दोनों को जोड़ने के साथ एक मेन कहानी आती है, उसके ऊपर का लेयर, जिनको पूरी इस प्रोसेस के बारे में एक रीजनेबल ज्ञान है, कई बार किया हुआ है, उनका एविडेंस है बाजार में कि उन्होंने ये कहानी तो बहुत बार चक्का चलाया है, मगर उनको आप एक्सेस नहीं कर पाओगे डायरेक्टली क्योंकि बहुत महंगे पड़ेंगे। बट उन लोगों की भी ज़िंदगी में कुछ इच्छा है कि थोड़े लोगों को और उठाया जाए, टीम चलाई जाए, तो कुछ ऐसे लोगों को इकट्ठा करें। तो ये 3 एंगल ये भी हैं जिनको इकट्ठा करने का एक कहानी आया, और इसको करने के लिए हमारी कहानी जो हम पहले बात कर रहे थे त्रिजस की आई, तो वो भी 3 एंगल है। तो हम इस मुहिम को चलाने के लिए, अब कहीं ना कहीं से हर जगह पे तो शो स्टॉपर गाना चाहिए होता है मूवी में भी, तो यहाँ पे भी एक शो स्टॉपर डालना चाहिए। तो ये नए चक्र से हम उसे फ्लैग ऑफ कर रहे हैं। एक 1300 किलोमीटर की साइकिल यात्रा है जो ऑलमोस्ट 1.25 महीना चलेगी। चालू होगी दिल्ली से 26 नवंबर को, और 1 जनवरी को ख़त्म होने की बात कर रहे हैं हम सेवाग्राम वर्धा पे। तो गौरव साहब जो हमारे मेन प्लेयर हैं साइकिल चलाने वाले, वो 1300 किलोमीटर पूरा चलाएंगे, और बीच बीच में ब्रेक करेंगे एक एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट पे। विल ट्राई एंड गैदर मीट पीपल अकॉर्डिंगली, क्योंकि वर्चुअल से तो लोग नहीं समझ में आते। तो विल ट्राई एंड मीट कि कौन है, क्या करना चाह रहे हैं, जिससे एक इनिशियल इंटरेक्शन हो पाएगा। सो दिस इज़ लाइक अ फ्लैग ऑफ फॉर दैट। तो 26 को यहाँ से किक ऑफ होगी, 1 को होगी ख़त्म, बीच में 3-4 जगह पे विल हैव सम गैदरिंग्स, इंक्लूडिंग जयपुर में एक आगामी करके एक संस्था है, तो वहाँ पे स्पीक करेंगे। वो भी एक लीगल लोगों का गैदरिंग होता है, सो दैट वुड बी वन ऑफ द स्पॉट्स वेयर वी विल डू। और ऐसे 2 और स्पॉट्स है जहाँ पे हम ये करेंगे। एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस इंफॉर्मेशन विल बी ऑल्सो ऑन आवर साइट, जो आप अपने पे टेक्स्ट पे डाल देंगी, त्रिजस की साइट पे होगा। तो हम बल्कि इन्वाइट भी करेंगे जिन लोगों को, जिनको इस चीज़ में कुछ एंगेजमेंट आता है, उनको लगता है इस मॉडल में कुछ तरीके से कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये मॉडल 4 आदमी के बस के नहीं है। So it's an initiative, and the way we see it is, even if it succeeds or does not succeed, there'll be some learning, and we'll be happy to share those learning if anybody is interested in it, right? So we'd like to invite people who are lawyers, young lawyers who would like to be part of it, people who have some interest in it, right? There could be people who are citizen journalists or journalists who might like to write about it. People who have really done well in law and they think they will like to contribute in this in some ways, right? Or people who may need lawyers themselves, right? Anyone, or maybe somebody who just wants to ride cycle with us, and maybe you want to ride it, and maybe you would like to add something.
I think you've covered most of it. One thing I would want to add is कि साइकिल यात्रा है, पर उससे लोग डरे नहीं कि अगर आपको साइकिल चलानी नहीं है पूरी रास्ते भी, तो आप बाकी माध्यम से भी जुड़ना चाहें तो we will be open to that also. Preferably, yes, if you can at least ride for some length with us, that will be nice. But that should not act as a deterrent for you to engage in this yatra.
हाँ बिल्कुल, किसी भी क्रिएटिवली तरीके से आप ऐड करें। हमने भी नहीं सोचा होगा, क्योंकि ये तो जैसे हमने बोला भाई सॉन्ग होता है, आइटम सॉन्ग, ये वैसा है, साइकिल पे हो रहा है।
साइकिल तो पूरी तो खाली हमारे बीच में गौरव ही हैं जो कर पाएंगे, हम लोग नहीं कर पाएंगे इतना, तो हम भी थोड़ा बहुत करेंगे, तो बाकी लोग भी थोड़ा बहुत कर सकते हैं। बट देयर आर अदर वेज इन विच दे कैन एंगेज। सो या उसका एक कारण है, वो आप बताएंगे।
तो देखिए क्या होता है, जिंदगी मोशन पे चलती है, ठीक है, और स्टेबिलिटी भी मोशन से आता है। साइकिल को आप खड़ी रख के स्टेबल नहीं रख सकते, तो जब चलती है तभी स्टेबल रहती है, ठीक है। तो वो मोशन और स्टेबिलिटी साथ साथ में गेम होता है, और बहुत सारी चीज़ें धीरे होती हैं। तो अगर मैं गाड़ी से भाग जाता हूँ तो टनल विजन हो जाता है, दिखता नहीं है ज़मीन। तो साइकिल यात्रा का दूसरा रीज़न ये भी है कि हम थोड़ा मिएंडर करके जाएंगे, लोगों से मिलना चाहेंगे। तो ये सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि हम ये कर रहे हैं, इस बहाने से थोड़ा समय मिलेगा। समय मिलेगा तो लोगों से बातचीत भी होगी, ऐसी जगह से बातचीत होगी जो हम इंफॉर्मेशन और उठा पाएंगे। तो जिस डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट्स में जाएंगे वहाँ पे जो रूरल एरिया है कि उसके आजू बाजू से जाएंगे, लोगों से बात होगी, कुछ लोगों के घरों से पानी पियेंगे, हो सकता है उन्हीं के घरों से खाना भी खा लें, और उसी से इस बातचीत में कुछ नया एडिशन भी आएगा। और इस तरीके से ही ट्रस्ट बिल्डिंग का सीन होगा। तो एक तरीके से ये ट्रस्ट के सीड डालने की भी यात्रा है। और जब आप लोगों के यहाँ जाते हैं, कुछ लेते हैं, कुछ मांगते हैं, तो ये भी आप छोड़ के आते हैं और शायद उनमें से भी कुछ चल रहे हमारे साथ, क्योंकि गाड़ी में तो ये सब नहीं हो पाता। तो ये भी इसका प्रोसेस।
सर आई टोटली बिलीव दैट ये करने के लिए जो आप कर रहे हैं, वन रिक्वायर्स अ लॉट ऑफ कंपैशन इन देयर हार्ट्स टू डू दिस, सो दैट्स द बिगिनिंग ऑफ एवरीथिंग। सो thank you so much and all the very best for your yatra, and yeah, I am excited to see how it unfolds.
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
Thank you for watching everyone. I'm sure आज आप सभी ने मेरे साथ कुछ नया सीखा होगा। तो आप प्लीज़ मुझे कमेंट्स में बताइए, सजेशंस दीजिए कि आप नेक्स्ट एपिसोड में कौन से प्रोफेशन के बारे में जानना चाहेंगे या देखना चाहेंगे। तो मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट एपिसोड में, एंड डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माय चैनल स्क्रिप्टिंग लाइफ विद बरखा।